Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, guten Abend. Welcome to Inside the Video Store. Another week, another episode, and you shall be relieved because as I look to my right, as I sit here on this very warm Wednesday afternoon in Wirral, I have barely anything to talk about. It's lovely. You know, the past few weeks have been rather rushed. They've been a bit intense. Been a bit breathless because of the sheer volume of stuff we've had to go through and introduce to you. But today, it's a nice calm. So we're just going to light a cigar. I'm going to grab my smoking jacket out the back. And we're just going to sit and we're going to discuss a handful of new releases, a smattering of films out on loan, and a fraction of films that lie in the box, the delivery box. So it's nice. It's a nice, calm episode, and we shall enjoy it because the weather's warming up. We don't need that frenetic pace anymore. We need to chill. Anyway, welcome. What have we got coming up? Well, it's a bit of a freestyle show. In all honesty, a bit of a freestyle one. I'm going to go off the beaten track a little bit. A few points of interest first that I must tell you about. There's two links. If you look below this video on YouTube, you'll see two links. One of which is a link to a great interview that Radio Merseyside, BBC Radio Merseyside, did while they were here. And it's good. It's one of those interviews that I listen back to and I think, kind of, you know, I managed to get all the bullet points out there. And it's one of those funny things when you speak to someone like Radio Merseyside, because you can poo-poo it and you can look at it and think, who listens to BBC Radio Merseyside? It's maybe an older demographic. They're not really people that might come here. But from my experience, I just tend to speak to anyone because you never know where these things will end up. It's like the Merseyside thing. Yesterday, I had a lovely couple in who had travelled maybe about 15 minutes away. And one half of the couple works for the BBC. And so she heard the broadcast going out. And her other half happens to be a movie fan of epic proportions. So he came in here and he was in seventh heaven. So he was so grateful that his partner had informed him of that thing going out and this place existing. So it's weird because I checked back on. I'm not one of these people that looks at social media and kind of presses refresh to see how many likes are totting up. So it's been 5 days since the Radio Merseyside thing went out, and I looked at the Facebook page, and you kind of go down, you know, cat found in tree in Truebrook and other local pressing issues, and then I got to a little minute clip, video clip of the store, and it had about 100 shares and about 500 likes, and so really there should be some kind of earth tremor coming off the back of that. So I'm looking forward to that. One thing though, you will laugh. One thing that does come from the back of that is people aware of you, but they have no real clue of what you do, and it's a weird thing. Maybe I'm being arrogant in this, but whenever I do anything like that on the radio or interviews or press, I always specify that it's a movie rental shop. It's physical media. Blu-ray is always the first format I mention, followed by DVD, followed by 4K UHD. That's the patter. But inevitably, I've just had to reply to a lady here whose text asking if she can donate some VHS tapes for the store. I'm thinking, I don't do VHS. I've got my own stash in the back, obviously, but it's weird how people will listen to something but interpret it as something else, because the common phrase is video store, and we all use it. People still associate video store with videos. It's something that I'm desperately trying to move away from, away from that nostalgia thing and into, that it's a necessary thing that we need in modern society. But anyway, and another thing that stems from any kind of publicity is donations. Now, donations are great because I can use the cases. I send out 300 to 400 cases a week here, and inevitably some get damaged. I have a lot of cases in the store that get damaged by either the temperature or the cold, and the plastic flakes off the spine. So I end up going through about 500 cases a year to replace stuff, which is fine. So when people ask if they can donate things, they say, well, we're going to the recycling center, can I donate? And I always say, well, yeah, you're more than welcome to. But I will only be using the cases, I won't be using the films. And there's also a slightly long pause before they say, but some of these films have never been opened. I'm like, yeah, that doesn't change it, unfortunately. You might have a sealed copy of Mrs. Brown's Boys, but I don't even have that to rent, and for good reason. But it's funny the way people are like, no, but this collection of mine is really precious. Some of these are sealed. Yeah, but you're going to the tip. You're literally going to put these into landfill right now, and you're questioning what I'm doing with them, and they're all going to be put to good use. But it's a weird one. But I thought, when you were here, I thought what I'd do, I had some boxes donated yesterday, and I thought I'd open one. I know I've done this before, but it's always good fun. And while we've got some time today, I thought I'd open one and just have a quick look, because it is always funny, because when people do try and donate, they think that the films are going to be genuinely of use for me. And again, it sounds a little bit arrogant, but they're not really. There may be one thing per box, maybe a BBC Shakespearean adaptation or something, which is really useful. There may be, maybe a elusive Fred Astaire film that I haven't got. But generally speaking, the films are of no use, and people tend to take that as a personal affront. But let's have a look at this box anyway, just to see. This is a completely random box, and I have not looked in this in any capacity, so that we can have a look together and see what is the standard. Now this isn't, no, this, I'm looking initially, I'm seeing it's a mad world. Now that's not a bad entry, to be honest. Alas, I have it in the Criterion collection. But so yeah, these boxes will come in really handy. Now I don't have that John Milius film. Now that will be added to the library, because that's a great donation. But you also get stuff like this: Germany 1, England 5, News of the World free. Yeah, 100 greatest moments of the cop. Sadly, not really going to be a great renter. So there will be a few little oddments. Reach for the Sky, great film, but it's in already. Porridge, what tends to happen is people will be bought Christmas presents, kids to dads or wives to husbands and things like that, and they'll say, it's Christmas Eve, just get them anything, and they'll end up getting, you'll love this, Dad, this is Porridge, the complete collection. And of course it never gets opened, still sealed. And it's crazy. It's probably, even though it's a BBC thing, it's probably worth pennies. And it's sad that someone dumps this from their collection without really being too bothered. But alas, aside from a handful of things, I don't really do TV. My Fair Lady is here, Ocean's 11, Queen, Braveheart, Zulu, all the standards really. No, I don't have that, which is Tunes of Glory with Alec Guinness and John Mills. So that's a handy one. So within each box, it's worth looking for, but in the main, it does tend to be very, very generic stuff, you know, a Vicar of Dibley. You know, we have Porridge, the Complete Collection. And we have Porridge, the Complete Collection. So not only did they have an unsealed Porridge, the Complete Collection, they also had Porridge, the Complete Collection, an exact replica of their unsealed box set. It's wild, isn't it? Absolutely wild. What people store at home. Judgment in Nuremberg. I mean, I'm lucky. This customer, or this person who's donated these, thankfully has had a half decent taste in movies. So I may be able to pluck out a handful of stuff that will come in handy. But it is funny, yeah. Whenever there's a bit of publicity or there's something on the radio, people inevitably think, hey, we can get rid of all our shit. You know, Pam Ayres unsupported. It's crazy. It is bizarre. Bizarre. But there we go. There we go. Once upon a time in America. Sherlock Holmes, 12 Angry Men. The thing is, half you watching this will be thinking, well, can't I come and like root through these boxes? Well, you're more than welcome to be honest, because they're all going to be broken down. And they're all going to be, the films are going to be destroyed, because it is, for me, the case. So if anyone of you just want to come and have a root, I've got about 1,000 films in the back, and you can just help yourself. Seriously, just absolutely help yourself. Take what you want, fill your boots. Because, you know, while I do go through a number of cases each year, I'm probably not going to utilize all the cases I have in the back. But yeah, fascinating. I do love looking through these boxes because they are full of weird stuff. And like I say, the amount of stuff that's sealed is quite remarkable. It is quite remarkable. But there we go. That's people for you. Okay, what other news have we got? The other link that you'll see below this video is for Long Live Physical Media. And that's a new documentary by Jake Shaw. Jake, you may remember, was our cameraman early on here in the first few episodes while I kind of found my feet, found my bearings on how to do this thing. Jake was unbelievably important. Great customer. Absolutely devours books on cinema and podcasts. He's an absolute fountain of knowledge. And he's, of course, someone who has an innate desire to be a filmmaker. So while life has inevitably got in the way for him, he's decided to, you know, go for it and start putting things up on his YouTube channel, and thought, well, he asked if he could come and do something here first, because it's a place he obviously knows well. And I said, yeah, by all means. And it was great. It was a really good chat. We went down some avenues that I've never been down before with anybody. And I thought, for me, you know, I hate watching these things, but for me, I thought it was a really interesting thing. And the questions he asked were so interesting, and I think they enabled me to answer them in relatively interesting ways that, yeah, I thought it was great. So please have a look at it. It's a great piece of work. Leave them a comment if you like it, and give it a look. The link is below this video. It is Long Live Physical Media, a documentary by Jake Shaw. It is very, very good indeed, and it's only 17 minutes, so you can double bill it. This show will probably be about 10 minutes shorter than normal, so you can double bill it with Inside the Video Store for a double dose of me. How wonderful. Yes, that's another piece of news. Another piece of news this week is been doing some housekeeping. Because, you know, business has been good, but with a little slight smidgen of brighter weather. There's been a moderate lull from time to time during the odd day. So I thought, right, let's get some things in order. There are a few nagging things I've been dying to do for months and months and months, and I thought, right, let's get into that. And I did. So I was so pleased. I think, you know, sat here today, Wednesday the 7th of May, I think the store is looking the best it's looked in terms of organization for, yeah, forever really. I think it's in a really, really good position. Tidy, organized, everything from behind the counter that needs to be out is out. Everything is away, everything is ordered, and yeah, I'm really, really happy with it. So I've done a few little tweaks, little tweaks that just improve the things you wouldn't even notice. There are people who come here twice a week, every week, 52 weeks a year, and they would not notice my tweaks. Indeed, I asked Gaz, who is our most frequent renter, I said, what have I done? And he said, I have no idea. But let me show you. I'll pick the camera up now and we'll take a little wander and have a look at a few bits that I've done throughout the week. So it also saves you looking at me for 45 minutes. Let's have a look. So the first thing I've done is with the director's collection. You know, this is one of my favorite sections. It always has been. I was saying on TikTok the other day that, you know, I set this up 20 years ago. My dad gave me a funny look at the time. He said, well, why are you doing this? I don't understand why you're putting these films with the filmmakers. And I'm like, but Dad, you know, this is how I watch films. You know, I watch a film. If I like it, the first thing I look at is who directed it. So, for example, if it's Brian De Palma here, I'll think, well, what else has Brian De Palma done? And I thought, well, if there's a place you can go that has all of Brian De Palma's films all in one place, then, you know, it's so handy if you're really, really into your films that you can look up a director's entire career in one fell swoop. So that was 20 years ago. Now, today in 2025, it has a completely different spin to it. Because, you know, God forbid, if anything happened to Brian De Palma and you were sat in your living room and you thought, oh, I tell you what, let's have a Brian De Palma season in our household. If you attempted to do that, it would be a logistical nightmare. You'd have to go via 6 or 7 different streaming services. Some of them wouldn't be on streaming platforms at all. And oh, holy cow, it would be a nightmare. So today in 2025, it's an absolute lifesaver because, you know, someone can come in here and under one roof for a nominal fee, they can make their way through Brian De Palma's entire career. And that's the same with 50 really important directors. But all these directors, they don't get updated very often. And maybe that's because there aren't many iconic directors that come into thinking. But one such director who has been making waves over the last decade is someone called Kelly Reichardt. And I thought, well, I have to make an effort. I have to really devote a space to Kelly Reichardt. And I'm going to do that this week. So there it is. There is my Kelly Reichardt director's label with a picture and every one of her films, including River of Grass, which is out on loan. A couple out on loan, actually. I think Wendy and Lucy's out on loan. Night Moves is out on loan. So yeah, always a perennial renting director. And I thought, yeah, that is absolutely ideal. Now, as well as adding Kelly Reichardt, you wouldn't believe it. I mean, this is one of the things I feel guilty. But I didn't have Paul Thomas Anderson here. I did not have Paul Thomas Anderson here. I thought, oh my good Lord, what type of curator am I? So I thought, well, I can't fit him in anywhere. It's pretty much full. Because with every director, I like to have something face on. You know, like you got Opera from Argento there, you got Asteroid City from Wes Anderson. So I thought, well, where can I fit him? And I thought, well, there's a little corner just around the side here. There we go. There you are, Paul. You can just stick you in this corner. You don't mind, do you? And yeah, there we go. So there is Paul Thomas Anderson. Finally got his own spec in the Snips Movies Director's Collection. But you know, you got to do what you got to do. So yeah, that is one tweak I've done this week. Second tweak, it was last week I did this actually. It was just to move the manufactured on demand section from MGM and Sony over to this pillar here. It's only 40 films I've got here. Who's got that? I think Fallon's got that, hasn't he? Last of Finest is out on loan. But I just thought, yeah, they were in the boutiques just behind me there. But I thought, oh, I'll just shift those to this new column. So that was meant in the central column here. I put a bit of noir. So this is mainly Arrow Noir. With a few others, a couple of Eurekas there, a couple of Signal ones. But this is mainly Arrow Noir. And I think that fits quite nicely there, to be honest. I think that fits quite nicely. So there's that. Oh, film noir, just in case you didn't know. And that means that in this corner, you've seen these before, but it's meant that in this corner here, Beethoven, Harry Potter, Muppets, and the 15 Land Before Time films, 14 Land Before Time films are here. Now, I had a spare shelf. I had a spare shelf above here. And someone, I think it was Dan, was it you, Dan, who said, have you ever thought about putting your Region A collection out on display? I thought, well, Dan, to be honest, it's a bit of a nightmare because you'll get people picking them up and, you know, they won't know that they're Region A. It'll take some explaining, it'll just take time, and, you know, people might be waiting to be served. But I thought, no, this shelf is really, really out the way. You'd have to really make an effort to look for it. And I thought, if I make the sign big enough, then maybe people might realize. But yeah, I thought, well, screw it. Let's put the old Region A Blu-rays up there. All the Scream Factories and stuff like that. All the Severins that are region locked, all the Benedict Syndromes that are region locked, all the Terrorvisions that are region locked. There's that remake of The Cube. So I thought, yeah, okay. We'll stick those up there. Like I said, I don't think many people will gravitate towards them, but I do know a few of my customers are multi-region capable. So I thought, yeah, we'll stick that there. And yeah, see how we go. So we'll take a trip down here. I'm pleased with that. I think it looks pretty cool. Hitchcock. There's my tripod. I mean, here we have Mr. Fred Olen Ray. Mr. Fred Olen Ray has his own little section there, just above my turntable. Now, just as a laugh, a few years back, I did put Fred Olen Ray in the director's collection, which was more as a indulgent kick than anything else. But yeah, now Fred has his own little floating box just behind the counter there with Bikini Airways on display. No, but one thing I've done is, as you know, the box set section was here, and it still is here. But on the left-hand side of the box set section, just here, I had other stuff. I had my Region 1 films, for example, and I had some other stuff just kind of hoarded on the left-hand side. I thought, well, no, this whole unit has to represent the entire box set section. So what I did, I just spread them out a little bit, stuck all the boxes, shifted them all to the left slightly, and then it just seemed to make a lot more sense, and it gives them room to breathe. And one of the things I'm starting to say in my induction for new customers is, you know, there is a box set section here, and browse at your will, really, because, you know, it's such an integral part of the store. That Godzilla box set has rented out so many times. It really has. Skullface Astronaut, not so much. Camp Blood, not so much. So yeah, really pleased with that now, because I think you can see things a lot clearer. And I think they stand out a lot more, which is really important. Some of these box sets are empty. You know, like the Spaghetti Westerns. They're in the Spaghetti Western section, but I love the artwork so much that it's nice to have them on display. So, and people start renting the Shaw Brothers box sets, for God's sake. They're amazing. All right, Fred. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Finished Mr. Bond. And of course, you know what's around here. It is just, of course, the overflow of B-movies, overflow of horror, and then finally tucked away from prying eyes that no one can see, is that horrible section there that no one's allowed to know about. And yeah, you ain't seen it. All right, forget that. And we're back. We're back in the chair. I don't know if that was any use to you, but it kind of puts into context everything that what I regard to be housekeeping. Just little tweaks that help people, but also enable me to showcase things that deserve to be showcased. So that is that. Anyway, we're about 20 something minutes in, and we haven't done anything. So on with the new releases. It's a funny week of new releases. I've kind of mixed up the boutiques with the new releases, so there's good reason for that, but you'll see. I don't know about you, I watch a film all the time, every day. I watch, without doubt, without fail, one film every day. But some days, I'm not as excited to watch a film. And some days, there's a lethargy to it. I don't know what it is. I'm glad I watch whatever I watch. But there's definitely a lethargy to it where you don't feel as pumped to watch stuff. I think we just have these natural lulls in life, really, don't we? Anyway, I took a film home last night because I felt duty bound to watch it. It's a big film. And it got to about 10:30 and I still haven't put it on. And it's one of those, I thought, oh, I'll check out the running time first. And it was 2 hours and 20 minutes. I thought, oh, I'm not going to watch that. I'm not going to watch it. I'll be unconscious on the sofa within 45 minutes. But I thought, no, come on, it's Tuesday. I've got, Inside the Video Store tomorrow. Let's get it done. Let's see how we do. So I took home Anora, and for 140 minutes, I was absolutely glued to my seat. It was so invigorating. I feel as though it's given me that shot in the arm in terms of watching movies. I'm so excited to watch another film tonight, and I haven't been that way in probably a few weeks, to be honest. This is incredible. This is absolutely incredible. Obviously, I've seen Sean Baker's other films, but this was, even despite the heavy dose of Gary Barlow, it was just a remarkable film. It's my type of film that I love to watch. A $6 million budget, made with passion, writer, director, auteur, if you will. Such a nice guy, isn't he? He is such a nice guy. I watched his Severin dungeon piece on YouTube today, and what a guy. But yeah, I loved it to bits, and I just hope people rent it. But now I've seen it, I'm sure I'll be prizing it into several people's hands. I thought it was absolutely fantastic, and I'm not an awards person. I don't do the Oscars. I don't do that. But it obviously carries some meaning still, and I'm glad it did so well, because I looked through the list of Best Picture winners for the last few years, and good films, but there's nothing that I've watched there that I can say brought the reaction from me than this did. Just remarkable. Just a brilliant film. That is Anora. It's out this week. It goes straight into the Criterion collection. I got it on 4K UHD twice, and I got it on Blu-ray twice as well. So I can't wait to hear people's reactions when they watch this. I really do hope it's positive, because I thought it was fantastic. It's prompted me as well to upgrade a handful of Sean Baker films as well. I've ordered Tangerine on Blu-ray, as well as Red Rocket and the Florida Project as well. I thought, yeah, absolutely. Does anyone know if we're going to get takeout in the UK? Obviously, it's gone to Criterion collection in the US, but here we've never seen it, and it's a tricky one to get hold of. So I do hope we get that at some point. But yeah, this would have had the same question had it not been for this coming out the same week as well. It is Prince of Broadway, an early Sean Baker film. This is from 2008. Yeah, just more of the same. More of the same. Can't wait to watch it. So brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So yeah, this is 2008, and that is his latest film, of course. In other news, we have Midas Man out this week. This was shot about 500 yards down the road in Port Sunlight, apparently, so I'm told. This is, of course, the story of Brian Epstein, who managed the Beatles. Not sure what it's like, if it's meant to be any good, but it is here. Eddie Izzard is in it. Ed Spaliers is in it. Jay Leno is in it. Eddie Marsan and Emily Watson. Good cast. Good cast. But yeah, there we go. Midas Man. And this week on DVD. Only had a DVD release, which is unusual in this day and age. Certainly for a film of that that reputation. Don't know what to make of this. Has anyone seen this? Dick Dynamite, 1944. You know, to quote the quote on the back, if you want a riotous, non-stop comedy bloodbath filled with vomit, zombie children, and exploding corpses, this is the movie for you. It's had terrible reviews, so I don't know if it's one of those that just, you know, a good effort but ultimately failed. Because on the cover it's promoting Iron Sky. Iron Sky was great, but yeah, bit unsure what to expect of that. But if anyone's seen it, let me know. I'd stick Dynamite 1944. Oh god, another week, another lapsed copyright movie. Different group of people producing this, but this is Popeye's Revenge, the Spinach Redemption. There's another Popeye film, isn't there, as well, called Popeye the Slayer Man. I do like that. You know, you can write these films off, but I do love the sheer balls of doing things like this, because it is a cash in. It is a cash in. But why not? You know, if you can do it, if it brings you some money in, if it enables you to go on and make a passion project, then why not? But yeah, that is Popeye's Revenge. I Will Never Leave You Alone is the name of our next film. And it's one of those from Arrow, one of those contemporary releases. And I love supporting those contemporary releases from Arrow because they just tend to pick really interesting films. This is a movie by D.W. Medoff. And I watched it. I think, the night after the coffee table. And I think if I was near the edge, this may have pushed me off it. Because like the coffee table, it is completely grim. Oh, it's bleak as heck. But it's a good film. It's a very good horror film. I do recommend it. A little bit different. But yeah, I like this a great deal. Just that small scale horror. Good stuff. And this is out from Third Window, Tokyo Pop. There's a bit of press around this. An underseen gem of 80s American independent cinema. So yeah, this looks really, really interesting. It eluded me completely that it was out this week until Tim Murray, who does the trade newsletter, happened to write about it. So, you know, it will fit in my Third Window section very well indeed. So there we go. That is this week's new releases, an eclectic mix. And we shall have a look at what's been renting out. And again, it's an eclectic mix. Let me have some coffee. I was watching my microphone that my t-shirt doesn't fold over it, because that was a bit annoying the other week when I had to re-record the episode. Tell you what was interesting. I had some guys here last Wednesday. I think I mentioned making a little documentary, a little short, 10-minute short, which is currently in post-production. They're adding a score to it, probably to drown out my inane mutterings. But Oscar was here, who was on the boom mic, and I overheard him saying how much he loved John Cassavetes, which you don't tend to hear from someone in their 20s. And then I heard someone else say this week about loving John Cassavetes, and I had another couple in this week, Ash, renting a John Cassavetes film, A Woman Under the Influence. And it is remarkable to hear all these people in their 20s knowing who John Cassavetes is and wanting to look at his films. It is just mega. It is absolutely mega. It's one of those things that just, you know, if that happens in your day, it makes your day. Things don't get better than that. So yeah, so I think Ash took home A Woman Under the Influence, and I hope they both like it. I hope they both like it because it is a remarkable film. And Jenna Rollins has rarely been better, and she's a great actress. So yeah, A Woman Under the Influence, out on loan, which is great to see. Someone came in and asked for this movie. It was one of those double take moments where I thought, I don't know if I even have that. I do have it because it was shot down the road at one of the at the View Cinema in Cheshire Oaks. It is the last showing with Robert Englund, and it's not a bad little British horror film, to be honest. I do like horror movies set in cinemas, you know, Demons, for example. They're a great setting. Midnight Movie is a great little horror movie. What's that other one? Murder Party. Is Murder Party set in a cinema? No, I don't think it is it? Might have to retract that. But you know what I mean. You know what I mean. So yeah, it was great to see this going out on loan. That is the last showing with Robert Englund. Our good friend Fallon is working his way through Val Kilmer's filmography. So he's seen some amazing stuff, like Salt and Sea, for example. And I gave him a freebie this week. I said, Fallon, I can't let you pay for this because it's not very good. But, you know, if you're a Val Kilmer fan, then you need to check them all off the list. So here you go. Hard Cash. Hard Cash. I don't know what you're going to think of it, but it's got a ridiculous cast, hasn't it? I don't think it's ever been rented out. But it's from the Millennium guys. You know, Danny Dimbort and Trevor Short and Avi Lerner. But it's done, it's done in conjunction with Randall Emmett. He's that shady character, isn't he? That produced some of the Bruce Willis latter-day movies. Yeah, you got Christian Slater, Val Kilmer, Daryl Hannah, Balthazar Getty, Vern Troyer. Madness. Yeah, so there we go. Hard Cash making its rental debut. Love and Other Cults is another Third Window film. With this Third Window section in operation now, it's getting some good traction, so I'm really pleased about that. So that's pretty cool. One of my customers rented the new 4K UHD of Tombstone this week, which is very nice to see indeed, speaking of Val Kilmer. And they thought, well, what can we pair with the 4K UHD of Tombstone? There's only one film for it, Evil Bong. Yeah, for my sins and because I love indulging myself, I have all the full moon films here, as you know, and Evil Bong is always face on. Because, as you know, I don't need to repeat myself, you'll be tired of this, but I co-wrote the official history of the Evil Bong franchise in the Peerless book. It came from the video aisle, the history of Full Moon Pictures. So yeah, it means a lot to me. I sat through this film more times than is humanly possible. Evil Bong. Gumshoe rented out yesterday to Mark, which is cool. Film shot in Liverpool with Albert Finney. And you cannot go wrong with a Stephen Frears film with an Albert Finney. Twin Town rented out. That hasn't been out for years. I was thinking whether Twin Town should belong in my underseen British millennium era box office obscurity section, but I think most people are familiar with Twin Town, aren't they? So I thought I'll leave it here leave it in the regular section for the moment. But yeah, that is Twin Town. And then finally, I had Rebecca in last night. It was good to see her. It's one of those moments where you get slightly confused about a film because you think you're being asked for one thing, but it's something completely different. Because Rebecca came in and asked for Baghead. Now, to me, Baghead is the Joe Swanberg film. Bit of a mumblecore, Joe Swanberg. Duplass Brothers film. Mumblecore horror, if you will. I quite like it. I'm a big fan. It's 2011. So yeah, when I rushed out to get her this Baghead, and of course, she meant the other Baghead, which is the more recent film, and this one from 2023 with another guy, Peter Mullen. So yeah, two Bagheads I sent this poor lady home with. And I'm intrigued to know which one she likes the best. For me, definitely the one on your left. So I will look forward to seeing what she comes back with. Okie dokie. So it's time for our tiny, tiny what's in the box. And it is literally just a handful of films. That is it. That is it. Outrageous. No, but it's good. It's good because we've had so much in the last few weeks. Ridiculous amount of stock in. Need that to breathe. And settle. And then, you know, we can proceed with the forthcoming new releases. But it's nice to have a break because every Thursday I kind of come into work with a mountain of films that need to be put away. And tomorrow it's a handful, and it's manageable. And either way, it's a nice position to be in. But it's nice to have a break from scratching my head over, you know, where to put a million films. Anyway, what we've got in this week in What's in the Box is the I don't know how to pronounce his name. Early Hu Xiao Xian. He's born in China. He ended up going to or living in Taiwan for most of his life, and most of his films are based in Taiwan, sort of recollecting what it was like to grow up in that country. The epic director Jim Jarmusch called him a massive inspiration. So he's quite an iconic filmmaker. And I know in one festival, I think he was called one of cinema's most highly regarded auteurs. So this is 3 of his early films that were made between 1980 and 1983. It's another one of those eureka masters of cinema releases that was on the verge, or had gone out of print. So I had to pay a few quid for it, but I'm glad I did because I think it's a really important release, and I don't have much Taiwanese cinema, so, you know, good to have in. While the other new arrivals this week both came from Cauldon, who were doing magnificent stuff. In America, I read someone's write-up of this the other day, and it sounded terrible. But nevertheless, it's here. It is Cries and Shadows, the return of The Exorcist. Another Italian Exorcist knockoff, meant to be the worst, or one of the worst, apparently, due to a few production issues and things like that. But still, it's here. And how bad can it be? Look at that cover. Love that artwork. 1975 it hails from. 2 directors at the helm as well. What could possibly go wrong? But yeah, that is Cries and Shadows, in from Cauldon, who are fast becoming an essential label. Finally, Mad Foxes, which is a truly mad film. I have had this in for quite some time, from Full Moon put out on DVD a few years back. But this is Mad Foxes in 4K UHD. Directed by Paul Grau, Spanish and Swiss origin. Yeah, it's an unhinged revenge film. It is absolutely unhinged. I'm going to take it home. Shall we watch that tonight? Yeah, I might do. I haven't seen it in quite some time. So it'd be good to have a look at what it looks like. And yeah, it is absolutely bonkers. Absolutely bonkers. But yeah, glad to have that. Nice addition from Cauldon. Lovely hard box there. And that will get pride of place in the Cauldon section over there. So there we go. Oh, that was so painless and pain-free. Lovely. Let's have a look at the comments. Oh, let's have a look at some whatchamacallit, some pre-orders. Placed a few pre-orders yesterday, and I'd like to know your opinions. What do you think of this? The way Vinegar Syndrome are doing things at the moment. You'll be aware of Vinegar Syndrome and who Vinegar Syndrome are. You know, great label. Obviously set up with the MO to release quite obscure cinema restoration label, carrying out their own restorations on cinema's forgotten, sort of orphaned children. But you know, you look at the first 2 releases, or the first 3 releases they've announced in May. And you got The Golden Child with Eddie Murphy, which has just come out on Blu-ray from Paramount, I think, only quite recently. So it seems like a really odd release. Very odd. Yeah. And then you've got Dirty Work, which is the Norm Macdonald film. I love Norm Macdonald, and I like Dirty Work. But it's strange to have a 4K of that. It just like seems weird. Seems weird. And yeah, the other one they put out, well, which I am quite excited about, to be honest, is Jade, the William Friedkin film. I remember seeing that in the cinema at the time. And I'm really excited to see that. I think it contains a director's cut as well, so that should be a good release. But it's funny that some of the releases they're putting out are really, really mainstream, like Drop Zone, for example. I'm thinking that's a bizarre film to put out. Are we running out of obscure curiosities to restore and remaster and put out? Seems strange. Seems strange. But yeah, nevertheless, most of them will be winging their way over here towards the end of the month. So you can have a think about that. Let me know what you think. What else is coming out? What else is coming out? What else is coming out? Oh yeah, we put a pre-order in this week for, you know how much, well, I just said with the Arrow release, how much I like to support contemporary releases, because it's hard. It's really hard in 2025. If you're an independent filmmaker, that none of the big boys are picking your films up anymore. You know, for physical media, none of them. So you've got to rely on the boutique labels to try and pick your films up. And very few of them are doing that. Only really Arrow and yeah, Arrow really, but TerraVision are another one. Oh, a couple of Vinegar Syndrome partners are as well. But TerraVision are doing some really good work, and they've just announced a 2-disc deluxe edition of Invader. Invader, and that's a film directed by Mickey Keating. Good director. He put one out quite recently, well, a few years back now, that I really did like. That I forgot the name. It was only a short film. He's about 65 minutes or something like that. But it was great. I remember watching it. I think Larry Fessenden produced it. Darling, that was the name of it. 2015. God, 10 years ago now. But I really did like that, about a girl's descent into madness. And I thought, that's a good filmmaker. It's still in the horror section there. Can I grab it? Just out of reach. But it's good. It's good. So I'm glad that his latest films got picked up by TerraVision, and it'll be coming here in a 2-disc deluxe edition, Blu-ray and CD soundtracks. That's great. And also, not TerraVision, Shameless. Shameless have announced that they're releasing Contraband. Contraband, the Fulci film, which is great news, because they put that out on DVD a little while back, and I know Cauldon issued it on Blu-ray, but it's a region-locked Blu-ray. So it'd be great to have that here in this country. So I'm looking forward to that. And they've also just announced Oasis of Fear as well, which is one of the very early DVDs that they put out, probably 15 years ago. But Oasis of Fear, a really good little Italian exploitation film. So I'll be glad to see that on Blu-ray as well. So they're doing some good work. Shameless have got a little bit of stick with all their editions at times. They can be a little bit haphazard, and their QC isn't what it should be. But I'm pleased to see that they really are doing some great work with some new restorations. Okay, finally, before I disappear, let's do some quick comments. What do we got this week from you people? Franco-esque says, I have the US Buena Vista release of Tombstone on DVD that includes a downloadable Pharaoh game where you can play as one of the characters and answer trivia about the film to win games of Pharaoh. Then just play Pharaoh. I don't know what Pharaoh is. I'm not a gamer. But, and there's also a commentary from George Pancosmatos, where he does not acknowledge all the actors. And yeah, he just ignores all the problems he had. It's interesting. Interesting. So it looks like the Buena Vista release of Tombstone on DVD is one to hang on to. Very cool. Indie Phantom Sofa Cinema says that TV movies have a special place in my heart, along with miniseries. I know there are a few collections out there, and many in the horror and thriller genres, and Spielberg, Hooper, and Wes Craven all dabbled in the medium. Yeah, I agree. Although I don't hold many TV box sets, if there's a horror TV box set or thriller TV box set out there, then I do tend to gravitate towards it because there's some great stuff. Spielberg's amazing stories, the bits and bobs that Toby Hooper did in TV over the years. Wes Craven, yeah. Not a fan of Freddy's Nightmares, though. Although, to be honest, if they dusted that down and put it out on DVD or Blu-ray, I probably would pick it up just to revisit it, just to see what it's like. Fallon says, Clint Howard, Emma Walsh, Vincent Schiavelli, and Harry Dean Stanton are 4 actors who have a special place in my heart. And I think you are very right, Fallon. There's certainly 4 actors who, for me, their appearance in any film elevates it to a completely new level. Essential actors. Lee Martin says, glad to hear you enjoyed Blue Sunshine. Yeah, Blue Sunshine was fantastic. A great release, really great release. Lee says he was lucky enough to see it last year with a mighty Jeff Lieberman introducing it, then doing a Q&A afterwards. Yeah, I think that was at the Treasured Films event, wasn't it? They're doing another one, aren't they? In Worcester, coming up soon, with some very impressive guests, I must admit. They're doing some great work. Oh, that's one thing I must say. There was meant to be a Treasured Films release this week, Stuart Gordon's film, King of the Ants, which I'm really looking forward to seeing on Blu-ray, as it's a great film, written, of course, by Charlie Higson of The Fast Show. But as yet, they're waiting for a few bits to arrive for it. So it should ship this week, I think. But as yet, no shipping notification. We Can Rebuild Him blog. I've got that Masters Cinema Fistful of Dynamite disc, and I'm old enough to remember when it was one of those films that was weirdly hard to see, unavailable for on a VHS for many, many years. Amazing, isn't it? We're so lucky. We're so lucky. It really is a golden age of physical media. And We Can Rebuild Him also says, it makes me wonder what would be your wish list of films that are still unavailable on any format. Are there any? I said there's too many. There's too many. If you go over to my website, theschlockpick.com, it's all we discuss on there, or predominantly, are films that are not available and left to rot on VHS. But if there were a handful of films that I would really, really be keen to see on Blu-ray, I think I would have to mention Joe Cardone's A Row of Crows from 1991. Love that film. David Okoto's Leather Jacket Love Story from 1997. Paul Lader's $20 Star from 1990. And also a great neo-noir from 1994 cable TV movie called Past Tense with Scott Glenn, which I absolutely love. They're just 4 off the top of my head. There's loads. There's probably 100 films I would love to see on Blu-ray that have never graduated beyond VHS. Matt Goebel says, I watched Phantom of the Paradise last week for my birthday. Great birthday present. Love that film. Need to do a Paul Williams double bill with Bugsy Malone. Yes, you do, Matt. That would be a good plan. Horror Hands 666 says, I heard a few people describe The Coffee Table as a dark comedy. I can't say I noticed many comedic aspects in it. Yeah, different strokes for different folks. I must admit, I did laugh out loud a number of times. Just how bleak it was. I think I wasn't laughing at the comedy. I think I was laughing at the sheer horror, because you can laugh in horror at something because you're that shocked that I think one of your body's automatic reflexes or responses is that you laugh. I'm looking at picking up Empire of the Dark. I'm glad to hear it's a good one. Yeah, it is. It looks fantastic. I do love that film. Brilliant. What else have we got here? Oh, Tom Jollis, yeah, says gritty Asian thrillers. Tom's go-to. Remember last week I mentioned that one of my customers asked for a gritty Asian thriller. I gave him The Chaser. Hasn't been back yet. I hope that's not, his response. But I think you'll love it. But Tom Jolis says, well, my picks would be A Bittersweet Life, good choice. I Saw the Devil, very good choice. And Cure, yeah, I think that's a great threesome, to be honest. One lesser known gritty Asian thriller from recent years was A Girl at My Door. I've not seen that. I've not heard of it. I must look that up. He said it's from July Jung, who is something of a protege of the great Lee Chang-dong. Right, okay. I will check that out, Tom. Thank you very much for that. It's a great recommendation. Finally, in this week's comments, the Del Bongo says The Brutalist is fine. It's just fine. Brady Corbett is a fine director. Although I wished it had been directed by Ronnie Corbett. Interesting. Yeah, The Brutalist, to be honest, I was quite intrigued as to whether or not The Brutalist would out-rent A Complete Unknown, the Bob Dylan film, and it did. I was really surprised by that. At the end of the week, it had more rentals than Timothy Chalamet, which I didn't expect. And yeah, most of the people bringing it back, they're pleased they watched it, but they're all saying, I don't think I'd watch it again. Which, interesting, really. Yeah, I think they like it, they enjoy it, they marvel at it, they appreciate the quality, but they're not really hankering to buy it or to watch it again. So yeah, I suppose it's one of the ways that video stores come in so handy, I guess, in that you can rent films for a nominal fee and then save yourself the hassle of buying it for a fortune. Great, well that's it. That's me. Hope you've enjoyed the rather unconventional layout of today's show with a few interesting new little bits, and I hope you found it faintly interesting. Please let me know in your comments anything you'd like to discuss or recommend or speak about. And like I said at the start of the show, please do check out those two links to BBC Radio Merseyside and also to the Long Live Physical Media documentary from Jake Shaw. It's really worth your time. That is it. I have a homemade lasagna to cook, so that's what I'm going to do now. And aside from that, pick a film, which I'm really excited about doing. I'll inform you in due course, most probably in 7 days' time.